Hey guys, welcome back to Classic City Talks with Classic City Locks. I'm Mike.
I'm Wes.
And this is our Week 3 Top 25 College Football Predictions Against the Spread. Last week was really interesting. I mean, there were a ton of upsets, and we didn't really know anybody that did too hot. So Week 3, we're looking to bounce back.
Yeah.
Personally, I went 7-15, which, that's brutal. But Wes also didn't fare too well.
Yeah, I was only one game better at 8-14. So
yeah. So we had all those upsets and stuff like that. So we are ready to bounce back.
Ready to get to 50%.
Yes.
On the season, coming in, it's a tight race now. I'm only 1 point behind. Mike is 16-23, and I am 15-24. So maybe I can edge him out this week. We'll see.
We'll see. Starting us off, game number 1, we have number 1 Georgia. The Dogs go into Columbia to take on unranked South Carolina. As y'all know, I was hot on South Carolina at the beginning of the year, and Spencer Rattler has done nothing but disappoint me. He's already thrown like 3-4 interceptions, something like that, not getting the ball in the end zone like he should. And this South Carolina defense is also giving up points. Arkansas took care of business while it was in Fayetteville. They took care of business and covered.
Yeah.
So the line is 24.5 for Georgia. I think that we talked about it in our reaction video. Georgia had a bit of an off game last week, but 24.5, I'm taking the Dogs. They're ready to go. First game of SEC play. If Kirby went, full tilt on Oregon, there's no reason he's not going to, tell everyone we need to take care of business in South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina's rushing offense has been very bad, and I don't think it's going to get any better this week.
Not against Georgia's defense.
But going into Columbia, it's going to be a very harsh environment. I see Georgia taking the game here, but kind of struggling in some aspects of their play. I think I see them winning more by like 21 than 25, so I'm riding with South Carolina in this one.
All right, starting off with a disagreement right away. That's all good. Go ahead, Wes. Next, we go to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah, nice matchup here. We got Oklahoma going into Nebraska. Oklahoma's favored by 13.5. Nebraska just fired Scott Frost after losing to Georgia State this past weekend. Probably should have talked about them in that.
Great job, Georgia State. We are proud of you guys. What a win for y'all.
But Nebraska fans, we're sorry. You deserve better.
Oh, yeah.
And you're hopefully going to get it.
Don't worry.
I don't think that you will get it this weekend, though. I'm going to go with Oklahoma. I bet on them twice already, and they haven't covered once. So maybe I should change this. Maybe I should pick Nebraska. But, man, if there was a team that I would not want to pick, it's Nebraska right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the Sooners.
Yeah, I'm also taking the Sooners because, the best thing that I could use to describe Nebraska's program right now is just a plane that's lost its engines and it's just hurtling towards the ground. They're desperately trying to pull up. And I don't think you're going to do it against the number 6 team in the country. Oklahoma's grinding. They're looking solid. We've said multiple times, people thought the sky was falling at first with the Oklahoma program, but they seem to have righted the ship. They know what they're doing. Dylan Gabriel's doing a great job. They're winning by 2 touchdowns.
All right, little agreement there. Next up, going to Baylor.
Yeah, next up we have Texas State going into Waco to take on number 17 Baylor. Baylor favored by 31.5 points here. Last week they did not cover. They did not win against BYU.
Yeah.
So, obviously a bit of a mismatch here. Baylor's a much better team. However, I will say 31.5 is a big line for a team that has a defense that is giving up the 5th most penalties in the country. I am concerned that this is enough. They're going to make enough mistakes to allow Texas State to get into the end zone a little bit. Maybe kick a field goal here and there. And because of that, I think that the line's a little high. This Texas State team can also score. Albeit it's completely different competition. But I'm not going to get burned by Baylor again. I don't think that they're ready. They're ready to cover this. They'll win. They're definitely winning. But Texas State to cover.
Wow, I'm shocked, honestly. This is a game I had pegged as a little bit of a. I was thinking about this one very hard too. But the convincer for me right here is Mike picking Texas State. So I'm going back to ride with Baylor. They played Albany week 1, who's an FCS team, I believe.
Yeah.
And the line was like 34.5, and they beat them by like 60. So I think that they can at least cover 32 against Texas State. It is a tougher matchup than people would think in terms of covering the spread.
Yeah.
I would not bet on this game with my own money, but I think that Baylor is going to be angry, and they're going to get it done, have a bounce-back week this week. So I'm going with the Bears. Next up, we're going to Michigan. UConn heading in there against the Michigan Wolverines, who did not cover last week against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. And the spread in this one is looking very similar. It's Michigan favored by 46.5.
That's almost the exact line.
51.5 last week, so they're
yeah.
getting 5 more points this week. But oh man, this is an interesting matchup for me. I do not feel very strongly about UConn. However, I also do not feel very confident that Michigan is going to win by 47. So this is another one, just like that Baylor game, that I could go back and forth on. But because of that, I think I'm going to go with Michigan. I know more about them, and I'm going to trust them to take care of business. J.J. McCarthy named the starter, so let's see what he can do. Air it out.
Alrighty, a lot of disagreements here. I'm going with UConn.
All right.
Like Wes said, Michigan did not cover last time, not because Hawaii did anything crazy. It's just because they pulled the starters. They pulled a lot of guys, and, you're getting ready to start conference play, things like that. You start to have to, in these matchups where we know this team's going to win. Well, I should pause. We thought that Notre Dame was going to win. But number 4, Michigan, we're pretty confident they're going to take care of business. The question is, are they going to pull the starters and stuff? I think that eventually they will, because J.J. McCarthy is good. Getting ready for conference play, not going to want anyone to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So, UConn, also, I will say, they're historically horrible. But this year, their offense and stuff, their stats are closer to average. So, I don't think that there's as much blowout potential as last year. So, I'm going to stick with UConn here. It's just a question of when they pull the starters.
UConn coming in 3 or 4 rankings above Hawaii in the power rankings at FPI. I will go ahead and agree with Mike here. I will come on the show next week and take a bite out of my shoe if Michigan loses this game. It's 46.5 points. They're going to win. We don't know if they're going to cover, but
yeah, that's another one. It's a coin flip on the covering. All right, up next, we're going to Lexington, Kentucky. Youngstown State coming in to take on number 9 Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Excellent job taking care of business in the swamp, Kentucky. Yeah. We doubted you, and we should not have. Will Levis, great game.
Yeah, he did. He had a great game.
Their running back was hurt, right?
Yes, their starter was still hurt.
I have his name here. He stepped up. I cannot pronounce the first name. His last name's Smoke. He ran for 80 yards. Kentucky took care of business in a very tough environment. They're showing they can run the ball even without that RB1. Receivers look great. Line is only 25.5 against Youngstown State. I don't really see Youngstown State keeping this that competitive. I think that Kentucky is moving and grooving. They're focused. Will Levis is going to air it out again. They prove they can run it regardless, too. So I'm taking Kentucky here.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the Cats here. I've doubted Kentucky a little bit this season, but we've also ranked them very highly. So I like Mike said, I looked at this one for every possible way Youngstown State could cover this, and I don't feel strongly enough. So I'm going with Kentucky to cover 26.
Definitely, yeah.
Next up, we got an interesting game in my opinion. Mike's not so high on it, but BYU going into Oregon. Oregon favored by 3.5 after BYU beat Baylor last week. So, man, I don't see why BYU can't take care of business this week. I mean, I think it'll be a good game, and 3.5 is my least favorite line to bet on.
It's horrible.
Because
so bad. Texas Tech burned us last time.
Yeah.
We both picked them they got won by 3.
So I think that Oregon could win this game by 3, but I'm going to take BYU in the points just because I feel more confident about that.
Did you say I disagreed with you?
On whether or not this is a good game this week.
Oh, okay. Well, we both agree.
I'm excited to watch this game.
Yeah. BYU has shown us that they can play. They're ready to go. Maybe they're in the playoff hunt. We never know.
Maybe Oregon is if they win out.
Yeah.
Mike disagrees
That's
with
what
me.
we talked about. I don't think Oregon is good. 3.5 points for BYU. They're number 12. I mean, they're like a team. They're a giant slayer. So, I don't think Oregon's a giant, but I think that BYU's just a better team. They proved to us that they can get the job done against a Baylor team that's good. So I don't think that there's any reason they can't take care of business against an Oregon team that couldn't even get a touchdown against Georgia in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So number 12, you're getting 3.5 points. Can't say no to that.
I'm getting complete flashbacks to the BYU Baylor spread,
I know.
where we said this exact same thing. Like, oh, they're getting points. They're the higher ranked team. But I can't switch
the
it.
value is there.
I was thinking about it, but I can't. History's not going to repeat itself. Maybe.
Same thing with Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
They have to cover 32 and a half.
The better's fallacy, right?
Yeah. The gambling. We do not. This is not betting advice, by the way. We're just telling you about the spread.
I would give you betting advice. I'll tell you which ones I'm strong on.
Yeah.
But next up.
Up next we have the Ole Miss Rebels at 20. Little fun non-conference matchup going into Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta to play Georgia Tech. Yeah. Ole Miss only favored by 14 and a half.
Yeah.
We saw this Georgia Tech team kind of rattle Clemson. That box score, shows it was a closer game than the final score indicates.
Yeah.
But Ole Miss, I think, is a pretty complete team. They've shown that they can run the ball as well. Jackson Dart's playing pretty well. Nothing crazy. But 14 and a half, I would really like this at 13 and a half. But again, I just think Ole Miss is a good program. Lane Kiffin's a great coach. I'm sticking with the Rebels.
Yeah, I'm going with the Rebels as well. They beat their opponent last week, Central Arkansas, by like 60 points. So I can totally see them going into Atlanta and beating a Georgia Tech team who, will be a lot better than Central Arkansas. I don't think is going to be close enough to give it a 15-point game, so I'm going with the Rebels.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss wins this by like 3 touchdowns. Maybe then Georgia Tech gets a field goal, something like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Penn State at Auburn.
Yeah.
Penn State is favored by 3.5. Auburn with the home field advantage. I've been high on Penn State all year.
Yeah.
I thought that they should be ranked at the beginning. Maybe they're better than Wisconsin. We'll see how that pans out. I'm going to take Penn State to cover here. I think it'll be a very tough environment, which is why this spread is only 3.5. Another one of our favorites. But sticking with the Nittany Lions here. Scary, ferocious mascot.
Terrifying mascot.
Do not show your kids the picture of this mascot.
Absolutely terrifying mascot. I think we'll put a picture, up here. We'll put a picture of the Nittany Lion. Make sure if you're a child below the age of 18, cover your eyes. That thing is horrifying. But they got that dog in them. So, like Wes said, Penn State came here to prove people wrong. They're in the rankings and they deserve it. So, again, like Wes said, tough environment, but 3.5 points for Penn State. I think that they can cover this as well. Auburn is just not playing well. They just changed coaches not too long ago. And this is an Auburn team that at home only beat San Jose State by 8 points. And, Penn State, Sean Clifford, veteran quarterback. They got some weapons. They're gonna win by over 3.5.
All right. Next.
Yeah, up next. Very fun matchup. We have Bryant-Denny Stadium, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Louisiana, Monroe. Not sure how much money they've been paid to go there.
Probably a lot.
Number 2, Alabama, favored by 49.5. I don't really have much that I want to say other than if Alabama is playing a cupcake team, you should take Alabama. We talked a lot about last week about how Texas proved a lot of haters wrong. They're a good team. I think that Alabama also had an off week. I think Texas is good. Alabama receivers will bounce back. And Louisiana Monroe is no Texas. Playing in Tuscaloosa, I'm taking Bama.
I'm taking Monroe.
Oh my God.
Give me ULM, baby. They were the last team to beat Nick Saban outside of the SEC, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
And not the playoffs. They went in there, and there's a billboard, look it up. It says, Tide rolled, and it's ULM 21, Alabama 14. Yeah, the spread here, 49.5, is not as high as I would have liked to get it, but another one that I'm not confident on. I think Alabama will be very angry, but their offensive line played atrocious last game. I think that ULM is, I think that Alabama could have a sleepy game like Georgia just had, so I'm taking ULM to cover.
A team that is ranked 117 in the power rankings.
They're not as good as they used to be.
Against number 1.
I'm still taking them.
All right.
It's not crazy until I do it multiple weeks in a row.
All right, that's true. All right. Well, you know what?
And I'm getting close to doing that, but
hey, I took Texas State. We gotta do something here. These cupcake matchups, we're ready for conference play. Yes. We're ready to get into the nitty-gritty stuff. All right, up next we have the Liberty going into Winston-Salem to take on number 19 Wake Forest. Y'all know one of my favorite teams. I think Wake Forest is awesome. The Wake Forest plus like minus 9.5 against Vanderbilt was like the freest line ever last week. I don't know what the lines makers were doing there, even when it moved to 12. So here, Wake Forest favored by 16.5 against Liberty. We do have a little bit of concerns about Wake Forest defense, but 16.5. Sam Hartman, first game back, he threw for 4 touchdowns, 300 yards. I don't see why they can't. If they did it against Vandy, why can't they do it against Liberty? At home, taking Wake Forest to cover 16.5. I think they win by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm taking them as well. Nothing more to add on that one, honestly. So let's move it right along to Akron going into Tennessee.
Zips.
Tennessee favored by 48.5.
You going to stick with your Zips like you did last week?
I am not. I took them to cover against Michigan State, and I'm ashamed. And because I'm switching, they're probably going to cover against Tennessee, but
no,
I'm taking Tennessee.
Yeah, that's a high line, 48.5. Not my favorite, but I'm trusting this Tennessee offense to continue rolling. That line's going to hold on defense, and I don't really think Akron's going to have much of a chance to do anything here. So, yeah, I gotta stick with Tennessee. We're really high on them. They earned that 15 spot. They're a solid program. Sticking with Tennessee here.
Next up, we got Arkansas Pine Bluff at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is favored by 57.5. Probably one of the larger lines you'll see this season.
Absolutely massive. So Oklahoma State, another team who has, kind of done what we said they would do. That offense is elite. They are ready to go. They've worked together before. Defense is not great. It could be a lot better. They're letting teams score on them. We saw that week 1. Central Michigan covered. They kind of just gave up near the end. We're going to win. They kind of let them run up the score a little bit. Because of that line, 57.5, I just think that's just too high. It could be even that they pull the starters and stuff. Even if it's like a blowout, you get to 40. All right, sit some guys. Going into conference play. That's why I'm sticking with Arkansas Pine Bluff here.
Wow, interesting.
57.5 is just such a big line.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble there, but I'm also taking Arkansas Pine Bluff.
I knew when I saw this line that we would have the same thoughts on it.
This pick is colored in turquoise on my sheet, and I don't even know what that means. So there's got to be something about this game. Everything that Mike just said, I agree with. I think that Oklahoma State's going to pull their starters before it gets that bad. You're getting like almost 3 times the line that they got the first week, and they didn't cover. Now, Central Michigan isn't a much better team than Pine Bluff, but I don't know why. I can't take Oklahoma State, even though I love them.
57.5 is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Pine Bluff it is. Moving on,
we have Missouri State going to take on number 10 Arkansas, a team that is very impressive so far. We are really liking what we're seeing from the Hogs. They're favored by 23.5. I don't really have a ton to say here other than I love Arkansas, and I think they could maybe even be ranked a little higher than 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking them to cover this one. KJ Jefferson's working great. Sam Pittman, great coaching. Just looks like a team that's gelling really well. So, can't really say that Missouri State's going to do too much damage here.
So this is a game that I was the same way, didn't look at very much coming into this, and then I'm sitting here looking at this, and 23.5 points is giving me Texas A&M flashbacks, it's giving me Notre Dame flashbacks, and Arkansas is very beat up right now. They just played 2 very tough opponents.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for a cupcake game. Will they win by 24? Man, I don't know. Maybe their starters need a little break after 2 quarters. I'm taking Missouri State here.
Alrighty.
Changing it on my sheet. I'm going to type it in. A little crazy, but I'm feeling wild today, so I guess that's who we're going with. I don't even know their mascot. Who are they?
Let's see.
They might not even be. I think they're an FCS team.
They are.
Missouri State.
I'm pretty sure.
University.
Missouri State University. I'm not really sure of the mascot. Let's see.
Bears. They're the Bears.
Yeah.
Boomer the Bear.
Okay.
I am so confident
We
in
are
this
putting
pick.
a picture of
I'm so confident in this pick.
That is the best mascot. That is an amazing
Let's
mascot.
go Missouri State. I love Arkansas,
Boomer
but I'm
the
picking
Bear.
Missouri State to cover.
Who would win in a fight, the Nittany Lion or Boomer the Bear?
Oh, well, the Nittany Lion has seen things. Like, he might have been... He's been places.
He's seen things, but the Missouri State Boomer the Bear kind of looks like he has shell shock. I don't know. All right.
You guys decide who's scarier, Boomer or Nittany Lion.
Let us know below. Let us know below who's the most terrifying mascot. And if you know a good like FCS mascot, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll check them out. All right. Up next, Wes, you want to take us to the next matchup?
Yeah, this is a really intriguing one. We got Texas Tech going into NC State.
Mm-hmm.
NC State favored by 10.5. That should trigger some warnings in your head. What did that happen? What happened?
Like we've seen this before.
So, yeah, the Red Raiders just disappointed us against Houston. They won, but they did not cover. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So
they missed it by 0.5.
Wow, that hurts.
Yeah.
That being said, NC State also surprised me last week by covering, which I did not think they would do.
Beat the snot out of Charleston Southern.
At the same time,
55-3.
I'm going with Red Raiders. I think this is what they do. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm doing that. Whatever it's called. But yeah, I'm sticking with them. I think that this game will probably be a 10-point game, and I expect NC State to win. But I don't think that they'll win by 11.
I don't know. I think that week one, like we've said before, ECU was underrated. They're not bad. But also, NC State, this is a team that's basically returning everyone from last year, and they were great. I think that they just needed a little time, calm down. Starting week one on the road in a pretty hostile environment. You're playing at home against Texas Tech, who, barely eked out a win over Houston, who, while they were ranked, I'm not really high on them.
Yeah.
I think that we saw flashes of what this NC State offense can do. While, yes, Texas Tech is a much better opponent than Charleston Southern.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take them here. I think that they're good. I think they just needed to shake off the dust, and we're ready to go.
You taking NC State?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Texas Tech only 10 spots below the Wolfpack on the power ratings.
But Houston, dude.
Houston was a good team.
No. I'm taking NC State here. You're at home. You got the environment. You got the crowd.
It's an interesting
you.
matchup for sure.
It is. It's definitely one of the more interesting
it.
ones that I looked at before we started here.
Disagreement's okay.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be right.
We had way too many agreements last week. Up next, Toledo going into Columbus to play Ohio State, number 3. Ohio State, who has not covered this season yet.
No. 31.5.
31.5. And give me 1 second here, Wes. If you want to make your pick here, I think I have something to say.
So, I originally penciled in Ohio State here, and they have not covered yet. They disappointed me. But I did pick Arkansas State last week, which I kind of saw coming. This one, I'm not as sure about. I think that Ohio State will probably get the job done here, win by 32. They need to give their fans something. Last week...
Who did they play last week?
They played State? Central Arkansas. Arkansas State, you're right. And they missed the 43.5 by 10.5. So they won by 33.
Mm-hmm.
Give or take a few. I'm going to take them to win by 31.5 here. So I'm going with Ohio State.
Here's my concern. Arkansas State, who they did not cover against. When you're looking at their defense, points allowed, yes, there's only 2 games, not a big sample size, 24. Toledo, 5. They're tied for second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see who Toledo's played. Face value, that's interesting. They beat UMass 55-10.
Yeah.
And then they played some nobody team, LIU. They don't even have a picture here on Google. After saying all that, I'm also going to go with Ohio State because I feel like eventually they're going to have to cover, and I think that the sample size for Toledo is too small, only 2 games. 5. Very impressive to start, but level of competition is nowhere near Ohio State. So, we'll take Ohio State to cover there.
All right, well, another good game for you. Michigan State at Washington coming up.
Interesting.
Washington favored by 3.5.
Very interesting.
This is Baylor vibes. This is Baylor BYU vibes right here.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Michigan State, number 11 in the country.
Take this one first.
Yeah, I think that this is a Baylor vibe, like you said, but I think Michigan State is better than Baylor. I'm really high on them. They won against Akron 52-0. Western Michigan 35-13. And, while we did get burned by Baylor, I think Washington is better than they used to be. This is a Washington team that not this team, a program that's made the playoffs once. So, be cautious. But, again, when you're given a ranked team who's moving and grooving, 3.5 points, taking Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If it was Michigan State minus 3.5 here, I would take Washington.
Maybe a little more concerned there.
The line is very weird to me, which shouts that I should take Washington, but I just don't know enough about this one to not trust my favorite here in Michigan State. And they get 3.5 points. Hopefully, if Washington wins, they win by 3 and they still cover.
They don't have any crazy injuries or anything, do they?
No, I don't believe so.
I don't think they got too messed up playing the Zips. We're both in agreement there.
Yeah. Moving on.
Up next, we have Pitt, number 23, going to Western Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Pitt favored by 11.5 here.
Give me Pitt.
Yeah.
11.5.
That's not really much we need to say. Pitt, two very tough first matchups.
Yeah.
Tennessee is a great team. Western Michigan is not Tennessee.
Is Slovis playing?
That's the question. That was still such a competitive game against Tennessee.
Yeah, I think regardless. I mean, look at that before you bet this, but we'll see.
Get the Slovis news if you have it, and I'll move us on to the next one. Do you have it or no?
Undisclosed injury.
Yeah. He said their coach was not wanting to talk about it, which doesn't bode well for him, but I'm still taking Pitt.
Yeah, me too.
Up next, we have South Florida going into the Swamp, playing Florida, number 18 now, that's where they should be ranked, I think. Maybe a little lower. Still reeling from a brutal loss to Kentucky, but Florida's favored by 25.5 here. Again, a tough line. It comes down to if Anthony Richardson is going to play like a Heisman contender or like he did last game.
Yeah.
And, it's tough, but I feel like that's just with the environment. I think Florida's still good. They just had an off game against a good Kentucky team. I'm taking the Gators here.
Yeah, I look at this one, and BYU went into South Florida in week 1, and the line was 12.5 in favor of BYU, and they covered by like 16.5. So
yeah.
I'm also taking the Gators in this one. 25.5 is a little high, but
in the Swamp too, though.
Yeah, so. I'm taking it. Next up, we got Louisiana Tech going into Clemson to take on the Tigers. Clemson is favored by 33.5. We're looking at. Wow. Louisiana Tech is 97 in FPI.
Mm-hmm.
Furman not ranked. But Missouri did beat Louisiana Tech this year by 28.
Missouri.
So the question is, can Clemson beat them by 6 more points, than Missouri Tigers beat them? This one I had penciled in as Louisiana Tech, but I'm switching it to Clemson on the fly. God, please just cover for me, Tigers. I guess they covered against Tech when I picked Tech, but God, they just
Who did they play last week? Furman.
They've looked so lackluster this
35,
year.
13.
Yeah.
They threw a pick.
I'm taking Clemson.
Did you say that Furman was not ranked, like in FPI? Are they?
No, they're an FCS team, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very torn here. Like right here, I have Louisiana Tech, but this is just a Clemson team that's so streaky for being number 5. Like, come on. You're supposed to cover against Furman. That's pathetic.
Good teams really win, great teams cover, and Clemson has not been a great team.
By the way, I think that Clemson is not deserving of 5. I think they're good, but they're not 5. But did they play Furman? They played Furman at home, right?
Yeah.
I'm going Louisiana Tech here. I mean, this is a streaky Clemson team.
All right.
33.5 is a lot. I could totally see DJ doing the same thing, throwing a pick on like the 20,
You're going to be throwing touchdowns down there.
Dabo is just, I don't know why. Like, is he getting paid on the side to keep him in the game, to keep DJ going?
You got to be loyal to your first guy,
That's bad for chemistry, but, like, I'm thinking they're going to continue that trend. They played their first home game, and they did the same thing. So, Louisiana Tech.
All right. Next up, another interesting one.
Yeah, up next, I don't think it's that interesting. UTSA going into Austin to take on Texas, who is ranked after that loss to Alabama.
Yeah, finally they get the credit that we've been giving them.
Yeah, they deserve it. Just an absolute heart-wrenching loss.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that this is a really good Texas team. UTSA covered against Houston, but Texas is covering 13.5. If it were 14.5, I would say, I'd stay with UTSA. But 13.5, sticking with Texas.
Give me UTSA in this one. Texas, they got the quarterback questions. Hudson Card, I think he should be fine for this game.
He will be.
But Ewers is not going to play, I don't think.
Don't need him.
He can't play if this is the spread. Man, I think that they're going to ride on that emotion that they got from last week a little bit too much and go into this game not as prepared. You know, I do not like Sark as a coach. A lot of people do. UTSA, not a bad team. Great team last year and covered against Houston this year. I'm taking them.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. UTSA, they're 66 in the power rankings. You know, they're ahead of West Virginia right now and stuff like that. So, yeah, I get that. But I think that 13.5, if it's 14.5, I get it. But 2 touchdowns.
I think Texas wins by 10 or 12. Not
but you think
14.
Texas will win?
Yeah.
I
think they'll win.
All righty. You got the next one?
Yes. My favorite, well, I guess it's not my favorite game of the week. Aggies, come on.
Yeah.
Miami Hurricanes going in to take on Texas A&M. Texas A&M is favored by 6.5 here, y'all. After being favored by 18.5 against App State. Man, this is like a must-win game for them, Texas A&M.
Absolutely.
I like Mario Cristobal a lot better than I like Jimbo Fisher. So I'm going to ride with the head coach on this one. Miami looked very shaky against Southern Miss last week, but they ended up taking care of business. I think they'll look.
It was a slow start.
It was a slow start. I think it'll be the same thing in this game. Slow start, but I don't think Texas A&M is going to do anything to pull the rug out from under them. So I think they're going to leave Miami in this game. Miami is going to come back. You're giving me 6.5 points too. I'm taking the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I don't see this as a bounce-back game for Texas A&M. Miami is rolling. They started out shaky. We were worried watching that. They didn't cover, which was disappointing. But they got their quarterback situation figured out. Mario Cristobal's awesome. Give me those 6.5 points. I don't even think it matters that it's at Kyle Field. This is another program that's in a tailspin. So give me Miami. Up next, we have San Diego State going into Salt Lake City to take on Utah, number 14. A team that we like. They're good. They decimated Southern Utah. They put up like 73 on them last week. I'm taking Utah 21.5. I think that they're still mad. I mean, they're a good team. They just got burned week 1 in a tough environment. At home, I think that they got this.
Yeah, man, I'm looking for every reason here to pick San Diego State, and I think that they could actually cover this. This is a game I'm very unsure on.
92 in the power rankings.
Yeah, but San Diego State's always like a sleepy little team that comes into somebody's home turf and plays them really close. They're not a team that I would want to schedule as a cupcake game. Let me put it that way.
Nah.
21.5. Utah was just favored by like 50-something, 49-something. So why is it so low this game?
Arizona took care of business by 18.
Arizona did take care of business against them. And given that, I do think that Utah is a much better team than Arizona. So I'm taking Utah.
Yeah. We got to trust them. We like Utah.
Yeah.
All right, you want to take us to our last matchup?
Fresno State going into Southern California to play the Trojans. Trojans are favored by 12.5 in this one. Man, the story of this show is that Mike loves the Trojans, and I do not love the Trojans. Yeah. I just feel very okay about them. And because I feel very okay about them, I'm going to take them to win by 12.5.
Yeah.
I think it's a little too low. This is another game like San Diego State, Utah, that I think Fresno State is a lot better than people who just wake up on Saturday and look who's playing are going to think. But I think USC could win by at least 13. I'm I'm thinking more like 14. So.
Yeah, they're right around UTSA and stuff, and I think that at home USC is doing great. 12.5 is too low. 14.5, okay, maybe, but 12.5, I think that they can pass for 2 touchdowns, win by that.
Yeah.
All right, well, that does it for our Week 3 matchups, top 25. A lot more disagreements this week. So
I'm looking to swoop ahead of you in those rankings next week. We'll see.
We'll see how things pan out. But, thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know if you agree, if you disagree, who you think is totally off base in the comments below. And that offer still stands. If you want to be a guest on our show, you got to comment down below.
Yeah. Good rhyme.
So, stay tuned for future videos. We post our reaction video for weeks 1 and 2 as well. And thanks again for watching.